Today we are with Steve Ray. Steve transferred to DePauw in 1977. 1977 through 79, Steve was at DePauw University. During that time, he played baseball, captain for a year, MVP season, led DePauw University to 2 NCAA appearances, and a couple of really impressive things. 2 no-hitters in 1979, and what is believed to be the only perfect game in DePauw baseball history. In addition to that, Steve Ray was DePauw baseball's first All-America honoree. And now, Steve Ray is an inductee into the DePauw Athletics Hall of Fame. Steve, welcome and congratulations.
I'd like to thank you, say hello, and yeah, it's been quite a experience here.
Well, talk me through that experience. So when you first got the call, was it something you expected? What emotions did you have as you heard about this honor?
Well, obviously, it had been like 41 years since I graduated, which has been a long time. Obviously, it's a tremendous honor, and would like to thank the committee very much. And I was surprised, obviously, but it was also great that I was remembered and contributed to some of the history of DePauw baseball, which I was very proud of.
Well, I want to break down this conversation into 4 different chapters, and that first chapter is going to be to talk about your youth, talk about Little League, you growing up, up until high school. And so you grew up in Clinton, Indiana. Were you born there as well?
Yes.
Was there an aspiration, a dream in your youth to go play in the majors?
Well, I think every kid that plays baseball, you have aspirations or dreams that one day you might be able to make it to the big leagues. I know I can, talk to my 2 grandsons are playing now. They're 6 and 9. And I asked them, what are you going to do when you grow up? And they say, oh, MLB. So, it's, we didn't think quite as that much back then because technology was different.
Right.
And, but always a kid I think any kid that ever played a sport, whether it's baseball, football, they always wanted to one day a dream of playing in the professional leagues.
So, when you look at, making it to the level you did and being successful as a college athlete and having the honors and career that you had, you don't get there without being competitive. So as a competitive kid, how did you handle those moments of great victories? And do you remember one in particular, either through Little League or high school? And on the flip side of that, how did you handle these emotional losses, a big game? And do you have a memory of that moment?
Well, you can remember that, most of my playing was over 40 years ago. So you tend to forget the bad side. Obviously, every year you always lost the game, at least one, because that was what ended the season. I can remember playing Little League. I can remember playing Pony League. I can remember playing Babe Ruth. Obviously, I remember high school and also college, both at Vincennes University and DePauw. And as far as a particular moment, gosh, there's so many good times. I don't really remember any of the bad times.
Do you recall if you were a glove thrower or, how you processed? I didn't handle loss well.
No, I was, I didn't like to lose in anything. And still to this day, I don't. I'm very competitive. Was always very competitive through my working career as well after college. And never handled losses, some tougher than others. Obviously, it didn't affect me in a bad way. So we get back up and get back on the horse.
Yeah, yeah. And we learn from it too. It's a great opportunity to grow and learn as an athlete. Okay, talk to me about the recruiting path. So here you are in high school, you're having a good high school career in baseball. Were you looking at dual sport? Were you thinking baseball, football? Were you thinking, I'm just going to focus on baseball? And what was that recruiting process? Who were you talking to and where did you wind up going?
Well, back in that was in like 1974, 1975. I mean, with technology today, the recruiting and the, information out there in the sports industry is, between Facebook and sports information directors, a lot of information gets out. Back in when I was playing, that didn't happen. It was, a coach would write a letter or the newspapers, articles, your names got out. I think I wanted to play baseball, and so I was heavily leaning toward that away. Wasn't heavily recruited. Bergen Clinton was a small school. Not a lot of what I would say heavily recruited area was not from major colleges, or even, I went to a tryout camp with the Reds back during the college career, and ended up going to. I wanted to play baseball, so I went to a junior college, Vincennes University down in Vincennes, Indiana, and they had a very good season the year before, and one of the pitchers was drafted. And he actually did not sign, and he came back. So we're planning on, should have a very good year in coming. And so I decided to go to Vincennes and play baseball.
I've heard of stories like that. Did you ever talk to him about why he got an offer and didn't sign?
We talked because we became pretty good friends, because he was a pitcher and I was a pitcher. So we, all the pitchers would always be working together. At that time, he was very academic oriented as well, and that he wanted to get the degree, which he went on to play ball at Indiana State there in Terre Haute, and then he did get signed after he was done at DePauw, at Indiana State, but. I think back then, depending upon what round you were in, the lower rounds, there was very little money in it. And if you were smart, intellectually, and that was, a main thing for your future, the education and, because of the percentages of people that make it to the big leagues and can get into making the money is very, very small, very small. So he chose to come back. And glad he did. And I think he was glad through his career as well.
Well, put yourself in his shoes. Let's say that Reds tryout came with an offer. A 19-year-old Steve Ray has that offer, and even if it might be single A, what would you have done?
I would have probably chosen the same route that he did, unless it, by some ungodly thing, it would have been a high round, just because of the potential, the percentage that you could make it and get into the money. Because I went to school to get a good education, and that was one of the reasons I ended up at DePauw, one of several, and very strong school. And no matter even today, the percentage of somebody making it is so low. The education is going to weigh out in the end, no question.
So you're at Vincennes, it's 2-year school, and you're looking at two different worlds. Do I get drafted? Is it a high enough round that it makes sense, or academically continue my degree? You decide on DePauw. Walk me through that process of how it got on your radar. What about it made you say that's where I need to be?
Well, it got on my radar through a couple of my very best friends, and still to today. Rudy Bohink, who is a physician today, and Ron Thomas, who was my catcher all through the little leagues up through high school, were at DePauw playing baseball. And then another pitcher who played with in high school, who was also a DePauw Hall of Famer, Bob Kyle. He was 1 year older than me. And during the high school, I mean, we were the two main pitchers the years that we were there, junior, senior years. And then, of course, he was a year. He went the junior college route as well. And but then he came to DePauw. And so I was looking at, you know, where was I going to go? I think reality started setting into, while I had a good career, you know, the chances of getting drafted may not be as high as what you had hoped, or I had hoped. And so I wanted to get a good education. Academically, DePauw was always very high. And with those guys there, and came over and talked to Coach Meyer. And of course, they all loved going to DePauw. And it would have been the year that I was looking, was the year that the first year that they went to the national tournament and set all kinds of school records for wins and everything. And I just, you know, I thought that was a good move for me, and was definitely glad that's where I ended up.
So things have changed a lot in the game. There's a lot with analytics, a lot with video work. At that time, were there pitch counts? Were you guys on a pitch count?
No.
Just until your arm got tired or fell off.
How your arm felt. Ask Bob Kyle, because he would pitch the first game, and he would come back and, you know, pitch in the second game. His arm was back then we'd call it a rubber arm. My arm wasn't that way. I had some nerve issues that I was always working with, so I needed my day's rest between starts. And but no pitch counts. I'm trying to think. No video. I mean, you know, there was the little cameras, you know, but not much, nothing like it is today. I mean, the technology, the pitch counts, they're even doing pitch counts in real young 9-year-old travel league. My grandson plays on, so it's totally changed.
Yeah, so I would imagine you and Bob Kyle, you got two Hall of Famers and no pitch count. Did anybody else ever throw a pitch?
Well, we had some other very good pitchers too. I mean, another guy from the Terre Haute area, Tim Mundy, which we were all through high school, we were rivals, because Terre Haute and Clinton were kind of the two best schools for baseball in high school in that area. At least that's what we think. And they actually beat us in a high school regional game, and then went on to win the state finals. And Tim was their number one pitcher. And then he ended up with me at Vincennes for a year. And then we both came on to DePauw.
So as we close out the kind of youth part of this, when you look at your high school career, you look at your little league, what's the biggest takeaway that you have from those moments, whether it was something a coach said, an experience you had, a game? What's the biggest takeaway from your time prior to college as an athlete?
I think if I would relate it to back then to today, is just let the kids have fun. I mean, I loved every minute of it. Made lifelong friends, and the person, you always have the dream of the possibility of playing in the big leagues, or anywhere in the system. But have fun first, because it doesn't always last, and work hard while you're there. A lot of good coaches along the way, and listen to them, and do the best you can, work hard.
Okay, we're going to move into the second chapter, your time at DePauw. And if I remember correctly, you said that you went to the Reds tryout while you were at DePauw. So when you look at that pro dream is still alive. Do you remember at what point the switch flipped in you and you said, hey, I'm going the academic track, I'm going the career path in baseball? is going to be a fun bunch of memories that I have.
Well, I went the dual route. I mean, I always had the dream of possibly playing pro ball. But then at the end of the career at DePauw, unfortunately, or the way it ended up, I'm very happy with how things turned out. I didn't get drafted. Started a job, and but I was also continuing playing baseball in the semi-pro league. Short story is I was obviously playing down in the Terre Haute area. Played with Bob, Rudy, and Ron Thomas, and some other guys locally. And but I lived in Griffith, Indiana, and I went to work at the steel mill up there in where my brother had went to out of college. He went to Rose-Hulman there in Terre Haute. I was going to start playing up there. There was a team called the Gary Steel Giants, and what they had was they got pitchers come in and play with them, and there would be possible scouts still around because it's a much bigger area. But the first week I went to work, we had an off day Friday. I went golfing and hopped off the golf cart, planted my leg, and ended up having knee surgery. So that kind of shot my dream. But obviously, I went the dual route, and because academics were always, and you're always going to work at some point in time.
Isn't that crazy though? Here you are, a 3-sport athlete in high school, and you mess your knee up stepping out of a golf cart.
Yeah, most people would never believe that, and I
okay, when you were at DePauw, what was your go-to pitch?
I would like to think I had a pretty good fastball.
Mm-hmm.
Had a decent curveball. I threw it as a kind of a knuckle curve, and then I also had another kind of an odd pitch. I threw as a split finger. I threw it more of a changeup, but sometimes it would tend to knuckle. So a fastball, curveball, split finger.
The split finger, was this the era of Bruce Sutter? Was that?
Yes.
Thinking the right.
Yeah.
So was that one of the thoughts in developing that pitch?
I think all kids, or especially pitchers, you just get out and start playing around with stuff, and you watch something on TV, and then you go out and you try to play with it. And I was no different. I did the same thing. And yeah, that was how I started throwing that. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And but it was a good pitch for me.
I got something for you. Tell me if you remember this moment.
The actual throwing isn't all there is to pitching, is it, Coach?
Well, there's a lot to the motion and the delivery. Steve right now is going to show us the wind-up position, which is generally used when there's nobody on base or someone on third base and you're not concerned about a runner taking an extra base. Steve is a great big strong guy, and if he does everything right, he can generate a great deal of velocity with the fastball.
Steve?
Okay, the wind-up position, like Coach said, is used most of the time. Use it without men on base. And again,
you always have those problems too.
Sure. When you're wearing
baseball,
your microphone on the mound, it's
without man on base or with a man on third base, and you're not really trying to hold the man on. Okay? And when I'm in the wind-up position, I tend to hold the ball in the glove. There are various ways to hold it. You can hold the ball at your side or in back. I hold the ball in front of me because I'm able to hide the ball from the batter, which becomes very important to a pitcher so he doesn't see the pitch. He can pick up your pitch while you're going to throw. Okay, to start off with, you have your pivot foot on the rubber, and the first step is to bring the glove and the ball up, and then to your chest area, and turn your foot and set it down in the hole in front of the rubber, okay? And then the second step is to come up and kind of set down on your back leg, and this is to get most of your power for the push-off. And then on the follow-through, you push off with that back leg and stay down, so if the ball's hit back at you, you're going to be in a better position to field the ball, okay? And I'll go through it again for you. This will be closer to live, and you'll be able to see how more or less it goes. Okay, you bring up, the pivot foot in front, bend down, and follow through. And it's very important to stay down whenever you are going through your motion, because this will keep you down. It'll keep the pitch lower, because if you throw up high and stand up, the ball's going to tend to go high, and it's a lot easier to hit a high pitch than it is a low pitch. And most people teach you to keep the ball down, because it's been known to be very successful. And that's about all I have for the wind-up, and now we're going to have another pitcher in a minute show you the stretch.
Remember that moment?
Oh yeah, yeah, that was fun. We didn't get do-overs back then. No editing. That was a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't think I ever saw Ed Meyer with a different haircut than that.
No, I know I didn't. And pictures after that, yeah, and even the boys, his boys.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I was impressed with how you handled that. Microphones are a lot different, as you can tell.
Yeah.
It comes off, you don't miss a beat. You figure out how to configure it, and you just keep going. That was well done.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that. In that shot, both Tim Mundy, Rudy Boink, and Ron Thomas. We were all there doing different things. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so here you have this storied career. Little league's going very, very well. High school, you go to Vincennes, you wind up going to DePauw, have a storied career there. Was there ever a moment when you were on the mound where you doubted yourself?
I'd say there's always a time, I guess it's just where nerves take over. I think I always had a lot of confidence, but I think there's always a time, or maybe not, every game you get a little bit of the butterflies, and that's no different. I mean, today watching my grandkids play, or when my daughter was playing, as a parent or a coach or a player, I do think, you have a little bit of the butterflies.
Are the butterflies worse as a grandfather than they were as a pitcher?
I think probably more as a father. Yeah. The grandfather part of it, they're not old enough yet. But my daughter also played travel ball and high school ball, and so I mean, being a parent there were some butterflies.
Okay, so during your time at DePauw, you led the team to 2 NCAA tournament appearances. For players and athletes that have never experienced the NCAA tournament, what is that like? Did you guys get an automatic bid? Did you find out from a phone call that you guys made the tournament? And then what's the emotion and what's that feeling that you're actually playing on this more elevated stage?
Well, I mean, coming to DePauw, when DePauw made it to the tournament the year before, that would have been 77. And so that always then became a goal. It's another game. It's just at a higher level, higher competition. We had a very good team. I mean, both 78 and 79, very good team. A lot of good players. Not one player can lead a team. Not in baseball, because there's 9 guys on the field. There's a bench. There's coaches. Takes the whole team to get there and be successful.
And it takes good leadership, and certainly Coach Meyer was legendary for that. And in 79 you get voted co-captain. Do you recall, was that a coach's decision? Was that a team decision?
I think it was the players, but I'm not exactly sure. That's one of those things that are a little fuzzy. That was a long time ago.
Do you remember if you were caught by surprise with it? Or, sometimes I think there's this natural development in leaders, and you just kind of know in the room who that guy's going to be for next year. Did with as many accomplished athletes as you guys had, I can imagine it may have come as a surprise, but maybe it was also something that you just kind of felt as it was going along.
Well, I think all the guys as seniors, we all took our own leadership potential, and we all did our thing, and you were a captain, but it's not like you had to do a whole lot. Wasn't any butt chewing or anything like that. because everybody, you know, was kind of doing their own thing, but for the team.
Right. So along those lines too, you got MVP that year.
Yes.
And do you recall, was that a player vote decision?
That was a player vote. At the end of the year, we would get together and yeah, that was a player vote.
So how did that feel? Can you recall back in that moment when your players say that, hey, this was a great season, but that's the guy that had the best season for us?
Well, obviously it was an honor and was very happy to be voted MVP, and no, you felt really good. You know, you worked hard, threw a lot of pitches, did a lot of practicing, and it pays off.
Also in that year, you had a unique experience. I think it's unique. At least it would be odd these days. But you guys actually went to play Purdue, which is Division I. So you got small Division III Greencastle, DePauw University going up to Lafayette playing big Division I, Big Ten, Purdue University.
Yes,
Swept them in the doubleheader too.
sure did.
Okay.
That was probably
in that moment. Do you remember that bus ride up when you saw Purdue on the schedule? Was that something that was intimidating? Was that something that was exciting? What was the vibe in the locker room of, hey, we're going to go play Purdue today?
Well, I mean, obviously I remember it because that doubleheader was probably the single moment of my baseball career at DePauw that I remember the games, because they're again DePauw, a Big Ten school, or Purdue, a Big Ten school, and, you know, Division III DePauw going up to play them. Obviously, they all thought they had an easy doubleheader coming. We all knew that we could win. We knew that would probably weigh heavily on our chance getting into the tournament. We were confident because one of the things back then is we played a lot of big Division I schools. We played Indiana State, which was a very, very good baseball school, put out a lot of professionals. Played IU, played Butler, ISUE, Evansville. So a lot of the teams we played were not Division III, but always like Division I, Division II. And then to go up there, but to win a doubleheader, and I pitched the first game, and that was a great time.
The one thing that I think is all kind of cruel about being a great athlete is that it ends. You know, it's not like being a musician, being a writer that you can do forever. So it comes to an end for everybody. Do you remember that final game? Do you remember the emotion? Do you remember the score? Do you remember the conversations with the other seniors?
I remember it was obviously in the tournament. And I remember the games a little bit. And unfortunately, we lost our first two games. So it was a double elimination and you were out. And that was probably, you know, that's the toughest time, because then it's the year's over. That was my senior year. So my college career was over. And obviously not the way you wanted to go out, but there's only one team that can win. And second place doesn't cut it.
Biggest takeaway from college athletics?
Have fun, learn, work hard, and give it your best every day, and grow from there.
So moving into chapter 3, your career, your life outside DePauw, after DePauw, 40 years in the aerospace defense industry, sales and marketing, 33 years with LPI, vice president of sales and marketing. What in that, you know, that's a great career in an important industry. So when you look at this, you know, you don't last in an industry for 40 years.
Yeah.
If you're not good at it. So what in being a competitive high-level athlete transferred into your career path that allowed you to have that kind of success?
I just think it was being the competitive, never give up attitude, hard worker, do whatever it takes. Whenever I would go into a negotiation, I would always go into it thinking that I'm better prepared. That was one of my old bosses said that. Always go into a negotiation being better prepared than who you're going up against. And I thought that was pretty good. So you know your stuff. You go in and work hard for the best.
I got to imagine that's similar to when you're taking the mound. And, know what's working for you that day, know what you got behind you, and
No
be
question.
prepared.
No question. And during warm up, or at least I did most of the time, I mean, what kind of day it was going to be. Was it going to be just an awesome day where everything is going to work? Or is it going to be a day you kind of got to work through it? I was very fortunate to add a good catcher too. Ron Thomas was I think in college I had through a total of 3 no-hitters, 2 of them at DePauw. And in high school I had 5 no-hitters. And Ron, I believe, caught all but 1 of them.
That's amazing.
So having a good catcher makes one hell of a difference.
Okay, so now you talked, and I fully agree with this premise that when you're in warm-ups for a baseball game and what pitches are working, what you may need to throw a little extra behind, what's not working, to kind of understand how that day is going to go. Did that same kind of preparation, was there a warm-up in the business world when you're going into a negotiation? Do you have an idea, hey, I'm putting complete sentences together, I'm making good points today, or maybe I need to go to the PowerPoint a little bit more today because my words aren't connecting?
Well, I think just all the preparation. I mean, you don't go into a game or you don't go into a negotiation without being prepared. And back in when I played baseball or football or whatever it was, is you wanted to be prepared. You worked out in the off season. So you were prepared, and that, on into the business world.
Was there if you look back on your 4 decades in the aerospace and defense industry, was there a difficult moment? Do you recall one moment that was like, I just don't know how we're going to get through this, or how I'm going to get through this?
Well, there were several of them, but I always tried to use negative or difficult times as learning experiences. Probably the most difficult for me, and probably the entire United States, was 9/11. And, I remember vividly in my office, heard the first one, ran to the conference room, heard about the first one on the radio, and then ran to the conference room and saw the second tower. That was probably the toughest time because, the aerospace industry took a hit right after that as well. And, but it obviously came back. It's a very cyclical industry. We work both, commercial and military. So most the major airlines today flying is, we built parts for those engines.
So I had a friend of mine one time talk to me about something called a memory shelf. Is that all these great athletic moments, like, the final pitch in the perfect game, or a final pitch in a no-hitter. These are all memories that you put on your memory shelf. And when you're having a difficult moment, when you're having a low confidence moment, you can go back to that memory shelf and you can kind of replay some of these moments in your head and believe that you can get through anything. And I don't know if everybody has a memory shelf or even calls it that, but when you start looking at your, career after DePauw, when you're looking at your business career, were there moments that you would reflect on some of the impossible things and some of the impressive things that you did athletically to get that little lift, that little extra confidence to get you on the right path, or right before you walked into a meeting? Did you ever dip into those memories?
Knowing that you were successful before and having the thought process that, you can do anything you put your mind to, never give up attitude. And, you know, you didn't always win. And in business, you don't always win. But the next day or the next meeting you go to, you're going to go right back after it with all you got. And that's kind of, you know, where I go. I mean, I do have a lot of memories, and, you know, I still got the baseballs from my no-hitters at DePauw. I still got.
Are those them behind you?
Yeah. The 2 no-hitters at DePauw. Let's bring them out here.
Is that your glove from DePauw too?
This is my glove. This is my glove. It's a Wilson A2000. That's my glove. And I got the baseball. Coach Meyer sent this to me. This was a game ball from when we beat Purdue in the doubleheader. Of course, whenever I had an excellent game or threw a no-hitter, I always took the ball. So I got the ball from back in when we beat Franklin, and this was the perfect game. And then a no-hitter against Rose Hallman. And this was always the Rose Hallman one, because my brother went to Rose, very close there in Terre Haute, and that was kind of a rivalry. But
did he play at Rose?
No, he did not. He could have, but he was much smarter than I was. So he's an engineer, and it was a tough school, and he did well, and he spent 41 years with one company. That's amazing today.
That is.
And then this was the tournament at the last 1979.
What's it feel like to hold those right now?
Well, it brings back a lot of memories, brings back a lot of emotion, a lot of good times. You know, remember the people, the guys you played with, the coaches. Coach Meyer was just awesome.
One last question in this chapter. How did this develop? You become a consultant with Major League Baseball's Player Association?
Yeah, the Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association. Of course, being a baseball fan, and I had some ideas. Of course, I was a member of that organization as a fan member, and I had some ideas about helping them with their membership. And so I went to them and threw a proposal at them, and worked with them a couple years. Got to meet, quite a few people, and went to some of the meetings up in New York, and that was an awesome time. But that was a lot of fun as well.
I'll bet.
Being around some of the guys that you looked up to from a baseball standpoint.
Well, heading into chapter 4, we're going to talk a little bit about some personal stuff, and then just got some random questions and thoughts for you. So,
right.
Married to Karen, how did you guys meet, and is she a baseball fan?
She is a baseball fan. She's a registered nurse. We met in Terre Haute, and got married. She worked at the clinic there, APNS clinic, and got married, had kids, and that resulted in grandkids. It's Karen is great, and she misses the baseball. She didn't know me prior to DePauw going back. We met after that. A couple years after I had already graduated, we met.
So she's never seen you pitch?
Semi-pro there in Terre Haute. I was playing for and running a team called the Holman Stars. Tony Holman, the Indianapolis 500. Their family would always support us and sponsored a team. And I played for them as well.
So 2 adult children, 4 grandkids. Is everybody in Florida?
Yes. My daughter, Jenna, our daughter Jenna. She's here we're in Cape Coral, Florida. She's a school teacher here. And her husband, Phil, is a supervisor at UPS. And she has 2 boys and 1 baby girl, or she's 2 years old now, and just got a new baby, Mikey, a little dog. And my stepson, David, he was a Marine, and he lives over in Fort Lauderdale area, and works for Lennar, the largest home builder in the country, and he supervises in their aircraft department. He got training in the Marine Corps and has done that type of work ever since. And then our granddaughter Chloe, she's 13, freshman in high school. So we have a great time with them. I love them all.
Got to be cool to have the family close. And
it is.
As you look at being a dad and as a grandfather, do you see any of the life lessons from your time as an athlete or guidance from coaches coming out as you parent and grandparent?
Oh, sure. I mean, especially when you're involved with them from a coaching, I look from an athletic standpoint, because my daughter Jenna played softball, and I helped coach all the way from Little League all the way up through into travel ball, and loved that. That was some of the best years of our life, and wouldn't have given that up for a second. And now, trying to help teach and with the boys who are playing baseball, but a much younger age, and you try to instill upon them the what you think they should be doing. Obviously, with the internet today and all the games and everything, they know a lot. They know a lot already. It's amazing.
Good. Well, I got a couple questions, random questions here I'm going to throw at you, and then we'll close things down. Really appreciate your time today. If you could write a letter to yourself, okay, what age Steve Ray, first of all, would you pick to write this letter to? And then what would this letter say?
That's a good question. I think I would write it to him probably back, in the, high school is, and I kind of tried to live life this way, is to, be a big dreamer, follow your dreams. You don't have to always talk about them, but you're always thinking about them. And set your goals high, because if you can't see yourself doing it, that's part of the hypnosis coming is self-talk. See yourself on the mound wanting the ball at the last inning. You always want as a pitcher, if you didn't always want the ball every game, I mean, you're really not worth your salt. You're not the competitor. You could do all right into high school, but you're not going to do well in high school or college or anything thereafter. You have to be competitive and work hard and follow your dreams.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Last question. Ready?
Go.
Okay. You're receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. This is your work in the community, your work as an athlete, your work in the career, your work in the family. You are receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. You have to pick a person that's going to introduce you. They got 5 minutes to talk about you, 10 minutes to talk about you. Who is it that you pick, and why do you pick them?
Wow. Good question. Not sure I'd be deserving of a World Achievement Award.
That's irrelevant.
But in today's world, it would have to be my wife, Karen.
And why?
Well, she's known me. We've been together we've been married 36 years. So she knows me better than anybody. She doesn't remember because she didn't know any of my DePauw going back, but she knows a lot of it now because of you know, pictures or stories, or getting together with the guys and families to talk about things and that sort of thing.
Love it. Love it. Hey, Steve, loved the conversation, loved the positivity. Congratulations once again on becoming an inductee in the DePauw Athletics Hall of Fame. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you, Brad, and want to thank the committee and all the folks there at DePauw and all my coaches throughout the years. And of course, couldn't go on without, you know, thanking my parents. I can remember, you know, they were always there. They would do whatever they had to do or could do to get to games. You know, that happened, that went all the way from Pony League all the way past college. They were always there, and pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Love it. Well, thanks again for the time. I look forward to seeing you on campus when we get to celebrate this in
All
person.
right. Thank you very much.
Take care, Steve.
Bye-bye.